All right, guys. Jacob here. Miami Dolphins Syndicate talked about a little bit in the video yesterday. Talked about a little bit in the live stream yesterday, which if you missed, every single Monday around 6 o'clock, Don and I going live, talking about the game, talking about NFL, talking about fantasy football, talking about a whole host of subjects. It gets off-railed, just like it did yesterday. So make sure you tune into that. We have a fun time with that. Those of you that tune in have a great time with that. So make sure you catch that every single Monday, 6 o'clock. But one of the topics we talked about yesterday, as well as, again, the video that I made yesterday, was Mike McDaniel. And Mike McDaniel, certainly somebody who's been under scrutiny, and justifiably so, over the last few weeks with what's been going on with Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins losing the last 3 games. 2 goes down against the Bills, and then the last 2 games against the Seahawks and the Titans, losing both of those in very underwhelming fashion. The offense, which Mike McDaniel is in charge of, looked piss poor, and a lot of the blame was put on his shoulders. Whether that's right, whether that's wrong, that was the case, and that is certainly an opinion that I held, that Mike McDaniel was not doing good enough for the Miami Dolphins, maybe even going as far as to say that he might be a fraud as a head coach, and the head coaching responsibilities may be too much for him. And then what we saw yesterday, or excuse me, 2 days ago, against the Patriots, winning that game 15-10 in a very ugly game, it gave me hope. It certainly gave me a breath of fresh air in terms of what I feel about Mike McDaniel. The game against the Patriots was not the masterpiece that we saw against against the Broncos last year in Week 3, or when we came back against the Ravens Week 2 in the 2022 season. It wasn't anything like that where our quarterback was putting up 400 plus yards, Tyreek and Waddle 100 yards each, putting up as much touchdowns as you can imagine. It wasn't anything like that. It was a very different type of game that Mike McDaniel had to go out and win. It was a very ugly game, going against a defensive coach, going against a rebuilding team, going against a team that certainly doesn't have a lot of talent, but they're really gritty. They're still the Patriots. That identity that Mayo is carrying over from Bill Belichick is still somewhat there. They just find ways to stay in games, even though they're not a good team. We saw what they did against the Bengals in Week 1, their only win so far on the season, but certainly a team that, at full strength, you would think the Miami Dolphins would be able to fully handle. And that was obviously not the case in terms of what the Miami Dolphins had and what McDaniel had at his disposal. A very unhealthy team, a team with a lot of injuries coming into the game, a lot of injuries then that you got into the game. Not a lot necessarily, but injuries to key players. Devon Achane going down, as well as Javon Holland going down with his broken hand. And how that game was going at the end, knowing the Patriots driving down, potentially take the lead, could have been the 4th game in a row that the Miami Dolphins lost, and that really would have put Mike McDaniel on the hot seat as head coach for the Miami Dolphins. But overall, I want to say I was impressed by Mike McDaniel, and he did some things that I quite hadn't seen him do earlier in his tenure with the Miami Dolphins, and what we certainly haven't seen from him earlier this year. So first thing of note was handling that adversity, being without Tua, being now on your 4th quarterback that did not impress whatsoever the week before against the against the Tennessee Titans with Tyler Huntley, and then into the game, have a few injuries, especially at key players. Some starters go down in Holland and Achane, and the cards were just not going the way, going Mike McDaniel's way, and it really started to look like that things may be teetering towards yet another loss. There were some mistakes that he can't really do anything about. The missed field goal, the failed snap on the other field goal, where the long snapper just snaps it directly into the dirt. Had absolutely no chance with that. Tyler Huntley's interception in Patriots or in our own territory, giving the Patriots a really good opportunity to go down and score. There was just so much going wrong in that game yesterday, as well as leading up to that. And Mike McDaniel stepped up to the occasion and made proper adjustments to figure out how to win. Most notably, figured out how to fix the running game yesterday. Now, again, not against the best competition. That does have to be said in the beginning of this. I understand who the Patriots are. It's like if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you got to understand who the Carolina Panthers are when you're looking at how good Caleb Williams did, how good DJ Moore did. As a Dolphins fan, we do have to understand the team we were going against. However, with Devon Achane going down early on in the game, Devon Achane brings a very different style to this Miami Dolphins rushing offense than almost any other rushing offense in the league. It's primarily outside zone rushing scheme, and then to have to change that mid-game where now you're going from outside zone to now running in between the tackles, and to do it as efficiently and effectively as Mike McDaniel did was really impressive. Doing that with Raheem Mostert, who just came back from injury, as well as third-round rookie Jalen Wright, who hasn't got a lot of touches this year, may have had as many touches in the game against the Patriots that he's had all season long. Certainly hasn't had anywhere near as good touches all season long as he did in that Patriots game. I was really impressed by the ability to pivot from what they expect to do with Devon Achane, who hasn't had a good season. First few weeks, especially if you have him in fantasy football, you might say that Devon Achane's been doing pretty well, but a lot of what Devon Achane has done has, in my opinion, been pretty empty calories and really hasn't helped the team win. It's just been putting numbers in the stat sheet, whereas what we saw on Sunday with the rushing scheme with Raheem Mostert and Jalen Wright was pivotal for the Miami Dolphins to win the game. Not just the rushing scheme, but the overall offense, a offense that is so built on the ability to make big plays, long touchdowns, big chunk plays down the field leading to touchdowns in the red zone, and to dial that back into longer, more sustained drives where you're trying to get Tyreek involved or trying to get Waddle involved, and certainly did a better job of doing that this week, which was one of the reasons Miami Dolphins win the game. If Tyler Huntley and Tyreek Hill connect on that touchdown in the back corner of the end zone, it certainly could have been a 2-score game, and a game that I believe the Dolphins should have won by 2 scores. But again, things did not unfold the way that the Dolphins wanted to. Having to play piece by piece, first down, field goal position, 4th and 1, taking your 3 points, understanding the game in front of you, understanding that points are at a premium. Neutrals were not enjoying the game yesterday because it was a very bland style of football from both sides, and a bland style of football is nothing what you would expect to hear from in terms of talking about a Mike McDaniel offense, but that's exactly what it was. It was bland. There still was pre-snap movement. There still was some pretty good route combinations. If you look at the coaching film, looking at it from above, there certainly still was some semblance of a Mike McDaniel offense. However, it was vanillified in a good way. You're taking Tyler Huntley, coming not off the streets anymore at this point, but he's only been in the building for a matter of a few weeks, and this offense that Mike McDaniel normally wants to run for the Miami Dolphins is so complicated and arguably the most complicated offense in the league. And he found a way to dummy that down to where Tyler Huntley is grasping the basics of it in terms of getting people open and hitting them while they're open and trying to make your skill position players then make some moves. There was absolutely nothing after the catch there for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Everything was you get the ball, you get tackled, which another thing that's just completely separate from what we've seen from Mike McDaniel. Yards after catch has been what's been the strength of this Dolphins team. None of that on Sunday. So you take away the outside run, you take away the yards after catch, and that's what we saw the first few weeks or the weeks since Tua has gone down. Saw that against the Titans, saw that against the Seahawks. No yards per catch. We still were trying to go to the outside rushing scheme, but nothing there, and we saw what happened with the offense. Barely any no touchdowns against the Seahawks, and then 1 touchdown in the 4th quarter that kind of kept you in the game against the Tennessee Titans, but that game was pretty much already over at that point. But doing that 2 days ago against the New England Patriots, it didn't feel like it felt like it was planned. It felt like it was intentional. It felt like it wasn't just because that's all we had. It felt like the Miami Dolphins went into Sunday with the idea that we're not going to find big plays, that our identity of what this offense is and what this team is isn't going to work. And that is something that Mike McDaniel did talk about following the Tennessee Titans loss, that things are going to have to change. There is going to have to be a little bit of a schematic change going forward if this is the team that he has to deal with. And that's exactly what happened. He said he was going to make some changes, and he ended up making some changes. The offense did not look like it normally did, and yet that looks like that's what the plan was. It looked like Mike McDaniel went into the week saying we're just going to chip away, get first downs, take points when the opportunity is given, and that's exactly how the Miami Dolphins won the game on Sunday. How the game played out easily could have been a 2, even 3-score game. There were mistakes that were made that were not within Mike McDaniel's control. Again, the 2 botched field goals, the interception by Tyler Huntley on our own side of the field set the Patriots up in really good opportunities to go put up points. And then Anthony Weaver in the defense held the Patriots back. Only 2 scores on the day, a touchdown and a field goal. Yeah, you let them drive a little bit there on their last drive. They fall just short of the end zone and time runs out. But everything seemed like it went according to plan. It looked like a team that had a plan going into the game, and executed it perfectly. The mistakes in terms of coaching were virtually gone. 6 penalties as opposed to sometimes 10 plus penalties from what we've seen earlier this season. I'll take that all day long. The ability to get plays off in time, not having to burn timeouts. I'll take that all day long. The team was prepared, they had a plan, and they then executed that plan really well with some individual mistakes along the way. If you take away some of those individual mistakes, instead of it being 15-10, it very, very easily could have been a 21, a 24-10 type ball game, and you look at that on the scoreboard and you feel a lot better. I feel as a fan walking away from a game, I'd rather see some individual player errors than some errors from the coaching staff or a lack of preparedness, something that went wrong coming into this game on behalf of the coaches. If you're sitting there as a coach, you should give your players every opportunity to succeed. And unfortunately, the first few weeks without Tua, that didn't feel like that was the case. Felt like Mike McDaniel was confused. He was a little bit lost. He was a little bit caught up in the moment, unsure where to take this Miami Dolphins team. Whereas on Sunday, he gave the team every opportunity to succeed and every opportunity to win that game. And while it wasn't pretty and the Patriots easily could have taken that game away, which would have been a robbery. They should not have won that game on Sunday. It easily could have happened. Team stuck with it, stuck to the plan, ended up winning, and I have to give Mike McDaniel a whole lot of credit for doing so. There's been a lot of hate floating around for Mike McDaniel, even some from here within the channel, myself included, and I believe certainly at the time that was justified. However, right now, I think it's best that we sit back and again, give a little bit of the tip of the cap, acknowledge what Mike McDaniel did right on Sunday. He was the most important reason for why the Miami Dolphins won that game against the Patriots. Let me know your thoughts on Mike McDaniel. Are you still skeptical? And I would have a hard time arguing still being skeptical because it is just one game. It is just against the New England Patriots, who are completely in rebuild mode, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So if you are still skeptical, let me know down below in the comments why you are. If you agree with me, let me know what you think about Mike McDaniel down below. While down there, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.